4A Region 1. Arnold is the number 1 seed, but they're going to be traveling to the 8 seed, Lecanto, because they ended up winning the championship for their district. So by default, they'll be hosting Arnold. Only one loss on the season, 17-1-1, and that came in PKs with a 5-4 loss. In girls high school soccer, the playoff brackets, Class 3A Region 1, North Bay Haven is the 4 seed. They'll be hosting Maclay, and Class 4A Region 1 South Walton will be hosting number 8 Paxson out of Jacksonville. North Bay Haven and South Walton will be hosting their playoff games. Got a lot of things going on with Gulf Coast as well. No basketball at the house this weekend, but softball is hosting LBW. They hosted LBW at 12 today. Don't know what the score on that one is quite yet. And then tomorrow they'll be playing at 12 as well. Then they'll be playing Jones College at 5 p.m. today and tomorrow. So I'm going to try to get over there for the rest of the game after the show this afternoon. Gulf Coast baseball, they've got the Visit Panama City Beach College Baseball Classic. It's taking place at the Public Sports Park. Gulf Coast took on Pearl River today. Byers recorded 12 outs, and Rojas had 3 innings with 0 hits, and he had 3 strikeouts. Baucom went 2 for 3 with a home run and 1 RBI. The championship game for that tournament is slated for 2 p.m. on Sunday. Let's hope that the Gulf Coast Commodores baseball team can make their way to that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, as we wrap up here, that was the end of our local. We'll transition over to national here. The Jacksonville Jaguars have asked FanDuel to reimburse them for some or all of the approximately $20 million in stolen proceeds that a former employee lost on the site. Now, FanDuel is saying no. That's according to a source that is familiar with ESPN, which is where I'm gathering this information from. So Amit Patel, who's a mid-level finance manager, he pled guilty already to stealing $22 million through a virtual credit card system the Jags use for expenses. He lost about $20 million of the funds on daily fantasy and sports bets at FanDuel. Apparently, some of the other people who knew what his betting style and what his betting handle was, says that he was one of the worst to ever bet on FanDuel. FanDuel did assign him as a VIP host. I don't really know what all goes into that. And he also lost, so $20 million, chump change. He also lost $1 million on DraftKings. He transferred the money directly from the team credit card to FanDuel, then siphoned the funds over 3.5 years. That's according to federal court documents. Back in December, he pled guilty to fraud charges in Jacksonville. He's facing up to 30 years in prison, a $500,000 fine, and he'll be sentenced on March 12th. Now, what's not clear is how the Jags are going to recoup these losses. Under federal law, FanDuel has an obligation to make sure funds used for sports betting were legally obtained, but the regulations are murkier for daily fantasy.
Yeah, they're going to get that back.
You think the Jags will get that back?
But you think call that back? You can't. It's stolen money.
Yeah, it's stolen money. You're betting stolen money, and so FanDuel's standing pat now. But by the time that it works its way through the court system, it'll make its way back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But that was just kind of wild. I read about that back in December, and then just to see how it all plays out, like for FanDuel being like, we're not going to give it back to you, man. It is what it is. And then when you read, especially that final statement right there, they have an obligation to make sure funds used for sports betting were legally obtained. And as soon as you find out that this guy's been funneling money, taking it from the Jacksonville Jaguars and putting it on a credit card or putting it on his betting account, that's wrong.
When you steal $20 million, you've already won. You've won. Why play it?
Yeah, why?
What do you do?
Well, the thing, so I guess I think that he was already in debt. I want to say that I don't know this, but I think that he was already in debt, like gambling wise, before he started stealing the money. But it could have been vice versa. I just know that we'll see how the whole situation plays out. And but how does a business like an NFL football team missed $20 million.
How long did it take them to realize they were down a few bucks there?
3.5 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
I think you need new accountants. Or was the accountant a good friend of Patel?
Yeah, could have been in cahoots.
It could be. Big trade in baseball as the Orioles get Corbin Burns. They got the 2021 NL Cy Young winner from the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, what was it? Wednesday night, we've got a new owner for the Baltimore Orioles, or ownership group. So, and then what do? They come out and they make a splash move. They traded him for infielder Joey Ortiz, left-hander DL Hall, and the number 34 pick in the 2024 draft. Now, he's set to earn $15.6 million in his final year under contract before he hits free agency. I would not be surprised to see if they give him a long-term deal here, or are they just going to see how this year plays out for him, because they've got some young pitchers in that rotation, and he'll be heading. Corbin Burns will be the ace of the rotation. That'll have Kyle Bradish, Grayson Rodriguez, one of Sam Peebles' favorite pitchers, and John Means and Dean Kramer. You guys are riding to the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a quick time out. We're going to be right back talking some NASCAR vroom vroom with RJ Starcevic.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Paul Samuel Hale, a veteran of Vietnam, Desert Storm. He has seen it all. He's done it all.
Baby brother. Based on my vast experience as a psychologist, I would categorize him as delusional.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Friday. Sunny the rest of the day with a gentle breeze coming out of the west at 9 miles per hour and temps near 64. We will have clear skies and a wind speed of 3 miles per hour tonight and be cool at 48. And partly sunny tomorrow at a high 65. Very heavy rain Sunday with a temp of 61. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Discover Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Let your New Year adventures begin in a new Kia Sorento. Bill Bird Kia has a few new 2023 Kia Sorentos left, and they will not last long. You get the savings and drive away today. Now offering 0.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $2,122 per month per $1,000 finance for 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. Must see dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 3/4/24.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back in the doghouse riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. It's David Hayes and Bone Crusher this afternoon. Caveman Rick will be back with us next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe. 104.3 right here, Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Before we talk a little NASCAR with RJ Starcevic, do want to remind you guys that I did not finish up the local because we didn't talk about the games going on tonight. Bozeman on the road, 20-2 record, taking on Rocky Bayou Christian, who's 11-10. That game starts tonight at 7 p.m. Chipley and Vernon will tip off at 7 in Vernon. Destin will be traveling to South Walton. That game starts tonight at 7 p.m. Port St. Joe on the road to North Florida Christian. They start at 7 p.m. Alta will visit Weewalt at 7. Crestview heading to Walton at 7 p.m. And then this is a big one. This is the rescheduled game. Rutherford 15-8. Mariana 22-2. 7 p.m. That's a dog fight. Y'all go check that out. If you're near there, if you're in that area, go check out Rutherford and Mariana. Mosley Choctaw 7:15. Mosley 15-8, Choctaw 15-9 should be a good one. Liberty County travels to Emmanuel Christian at 6:30, and then Arnold is 5-17. They're going to be playing 2-25 Sand Rock tonight at 7 p.m. In girls high school basketball, Arnold traveling to Mariana. They tipped off at 4 p.m. Rutherford is 21-1. Rickards is 18-4. Rutherford will be hosting them tonight at 5 p.m. Bozeman is 9-12. They're traveling to Rocky Bayou Christian at 12-5. They'll tip tonight at 5:30. And then Coach Olds texted in about that Rutherford score against Graceville last night, which both of those teams had a very good record. Triple OT in that game. Now we're going to go over to the phone line. We're going to go back to our guy, RJ Starcevic, who is the host and creator of the NASCAR Report, which you can find on Instagram. RJ, welcome in. What's going on?
Nothing too much. Really, really glad to be back. Glad to hear y'all again. I know things have been going well over there at the ESPN Northwest Florida area as always. How's the weather up in Panama? It's getting a tiny bit chillier down here in Tampa, but it's warming up.
Yeah, it's I would say, 60s right now, Bone Crusher? Somewhere. It feels great outside.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is great outside. Just spent 5 minutes or so outside before the show trying to get a little breathe in and fresh air after all of the show prep. Yeah, a little vitamin D. There you go, because you cannot get that while you're just sitting in an office all day long. But hey, RJ, man, we've got NASCAR. The off season just feels like a drag race. Feels like we just talked to you 2 weeks ago. But what are some of the notable changes we need to get ready for heading into 2024?
Yeah, it really does. The off season feels shorter every year, but it's definitely a year that looks like it's going to be in the upside. We hope for sure. Not a ton of huge changes, but some little changes we're looking at. I know last year we talked about our short track package that they're running in the Cup Series. They've been changing that up to just kind of increase the closeness of the racing and the ability to pass. As far as the schedule, we got some new tracks. We got Iowa Speedway, which isn't totally new to NASCAR fans, but new to some of the newer fans and new to the Cup Series as well, way up north. That's a really, really fun racetrack. Excited for them to get there. That'll be midsummer, and also around midsummer, the Brickyard returns. They're going back onto the famed oval. Spent the last 2-3 years on the road course. Now they'll go back to the oval.
I bet Ross Chastain's not happy.
Going on there.
I bet he's not happy about that, huh?
Not happy about that shortcut he was able to create a few years back. That was certainly legendary. But you never know if it'll come back. But yeah, that Brickyard oval's back. Obviously, we got a lot of driver changes. I feel like more so the middle of the pack in the Cup Series, guys that you feel like kind of really have something to prove. Like Legacy Motor Club going to Toyota, Jimmy Johnson's team over there, they're looking good. Stewart Haas Racing got a whole rebrand, so definitely some new faces, new places next year, and some new tracks on the schedule. It's certainly going to be fun.
And that is, I'm glad that you left off with that one, because James just texted in. He says, what are the expectations of Stewart and Haas Racing? And then we've got another question after that. But what are your expectations for Stewart and Haas Racing this year?
Yeah, my expectations is kind of split half and half. You got their two new drivers, Noah Gregson in the 10 car, Josh Berry in the 4 car. I don't expect any checkered flags this year, but I do expect some consistent runs. I expect them to probably be better in the later half of the year. You're talking about two seasoned drivers, that have been around the sport for a little bit. They're young, but they both came from Chevrolet. Ford manufacturer, it's a whole different switch. It's a whole new car as well for Ford Performance. And so they're going to be getting acclimated. But I'm looking at the two guys that have been with the program that need to make something happen this year. Ryan Preece, but more so Chase Briscoe. Kevin Harvick's gone. He's retired. He was that flagship guy that really held that team down. They're going to look for that next guy up, and it's got to be Chase Briscoe. Stewart Haas has put so much into him. Ford has put so much into him. They didn't have the year they wanted last year, but somebody's going to have to step up, be that flagship guy. You never know. It could be Josh Berry. It could be Noah Gregson. But at least in 2024, I would expect it to be Chase Briscoe. I would expect a few wins and a playoff spot for him.
How well do you expect Noah Gregson to do in the Tony Stewart car?
Yeah, I think, his sample size last year in the 42 for Legacy Motor Club, we know that car isn't the strongest in the world. So he wasn't really having the outings he wanted, but I think, he's going to have a lot more resources now at the place where he is. And I think they'll do pretty solid. I think Noah Gragson, he obviously proved in the Xfinity Series he can run consistent. He can win races. He's a strong driver. And, I don't think he'll get that win this year, checkered flag. You never know at Daytona or Talladega. He is good on the super speedways. But I expect a year where hopefully they can end the year and be like, okay, we've been way better these last 10 weeks than we started in the first 10 weeks, kind of that kind of season.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with RJ Starcevic. He is the host and creator of the NASCAR Report, and you can find that on Instagram. RJ, what's different about the Clash here in 2024?
Well, I think it's really just the dates. They kind of changed them up back, last year and the year previous. They had practice and qualifying, just practice single-car qualifying on Saturday. And then they had all the heats, last chance qualifier, and the race on Sunday. This year they changed it up. They moved the heat races to Saturdays. So now you have practice, you'll have qualifying, you'll have the heat race at night, and now you go into Sunday where they only have the last chance qualifier. So you are only going to have that little last chance qualifier race before the race on Sunday. And then the second change, you also will have more additional racing. We got the NASCAR Mexico Series is going to be in town as kind of the support series, kind of acting as the Xfinity Series for the weekend. So they will be there to kind of, get the crowd some additional racing, kind of get that series out there as well. And also Daniel Suarez will be racing and representing Trackhouse in that race, pulling double duty. So definitely a few changes to the Clash this year.
All right, well, let's do some thrive or dive at the Clash. I'll give you a few drivers here. We'll go one by one, and you just tell me if you think they're going to thrive or dive. We'll start with Austin Dillon.
You think in the Clash or like the season in general?
Ooh, which way would you rather answer? Let's go that direction.
Let's do some big, like, before the year predictions, and then maybe we can go look back on them. So you said first one, Austin Dillon?
Yeah.
I think Austin Dillon, I think he's got to thrive. I think this is the year, because you look at last year, Kyle Busch came into RCR, won multiple races, made the playoffs. Austin Dillon's that other driver. He definitely has to thrive.
All right, let's go to Ryan Preece. How do you feel about him, thriving or diving?
I'm going to go dive. I love Ryan Preece, but, I think if anyone's going to be that odd man out at Stewart-Haas Racing, it's going to be Preece, if Custer goes up next year. And I just don't see them being able to really get their foot on the ground and do everything that he would need to do for the team not to send Cole Custer in his spot. Unfortunately, love Ryan Preece, but